Welcome to Podcast on the Porch with Carrie.
And Teresa.
It's a beautiful night out here in good old Glendive, Montana.
It's 9 o'clock on the 30th.
Oh, 30th of June.
Yeah.
Yeah, Independence Day is coming this week. We already heard some boom booms go off.
Yep.
Which aren't supposed to technically start till tomorrow. Teresa, speaking of that, I remember when I was a kid, you only got one day to let off fireworks. What happened to that?
I don't know. And we didn't have enough money to have more fireworks in one night.
I know.
There's a buck going down the road.
Oh, look at the deer.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh. He's got his felts.
And it's summer again because looking across the street.
Yeah, BN hasn't mowed their forest.
I know.
Yeah, I saw that Miss Ackerman had posted some photos about crumbling sidewalk and whatever. I mean, her husband works for them. You'd think he'd say something, but whatever. Sorry, that was rude. But I think somebody said that on the post. Anywho, oh, look at that. I love watching the deer. So speaking of deer, I found out the other day, a friend of mine was telling me that Meade was like Deer Central at 4:30 in the morning. No wonder I have no lettuce left.
I know. So you see they ate the neighbor's flowers over there.
Yeah,
yeah.
I had beautiful romaines that were getting ready to be cut down, ready to go. No, I don't have no romaine anymore. Nor do I have any butter lettuce or nothing. But they said that when you look down Meade from Town Street, it was nothing but deer. I was like, well, makes sense.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, right. I mean, I really didn't grow a garden this year. I mean, just my normal lettuce that comes up. I mean, they could have at least ate the weeds, but nope. Oh, well. But it actually is really nice out tonight.
It's really nice. It has been hot, so as always, please watch pets, watch your neighbors' pets too. Make sure there's water and shade, and the sidewalks are hot. You sent me that picture of that little igloo doghouse.
Yeah.
That had the inside temperature was like 110 or something.
Yep. And it was only like 75 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. Those attract some heat. Speaking of, to you maybe hot, but to me it's been comfortable. Mm-hmm. But we have had some wicked storms roll through here.
I know that. So we kind of always, before we do a podcast, go, hey, do we have anything we want to talk about? And I know that this is what Carrie wants to talk about today. And I was actually talking to someone because, of course, it was posting, I know there was another one, someone with, on Facebook, I'm sure that we've all seen, like, the North Dakota and South Dakota tornadoes that are going across there.
There was a tornado up on the High Line in Montana.
Okay, so my question, is this normal? Or is this normal, and they're just posting more of them, or?
So I was watching and then I was reading some stuff that most people think that tornadoes stick in Tornado Alley, aka Kansas, Oklahoma,
right up into eastern South Dakota and Minnesota.
Yeah, and Arkansas.
Yeah.
But history states that the prairie, which we are part of the prairie, do get tornadoes. And what I find interesting is that it has to be a certain category of wind speed to be categorized as a tornado versus a microburst.
Yep.
And so if you remember, we have averaged at least one microburst every year.
Yep.
Okay, and everybody's like, oh, it's a tornado. But they can't categorize it. Like last year, they said it was 5 miles per hour wind difference before it became a tornado. But that necessarily doesn't mean that down the road didn't get hit with the tornado, because obviously as microbursts pick up speed, the wind picks up and so on and such forth. Dickinson had a tornado, Bismarck had a tornado, and those were within 8 hours of each other.
Yeah.
And then, what was it, Clear Lake, South Dakota had that.
Oh, boy.
That one was huge. I think they said there was 2 of them, and they just came together. But, and a lot of people that have moved to our area didn't think we had that type of stuff. And I was like, listen, the only thing we don't have here is a hurricane and a tsunami. That's the only thing you're not going to see here. Montana is known for earthquakes. We have volcanoes around us. We've got, snowstorms, thunderstorms, hail. I mean, what was it? Savage had that hail that was like the size of baseballs, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's still damaging storm stuff. And then I don't know if you saw that, like Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and there was somewhere, South Carolina and North Carolina. Homeowners are losing their insurances because of the impact of the storms and their upticks. So this is one of those things that I wanted to talk about because I've already seen GoFundMe's go out about people needing help, financial assistance, because they were not prepared for these storms. Which I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, obviously either A, they've never lived in the prairie, or B, they have the mentality of it's not going to happen to me. Or C, they literally just couldn't afford it. But if you look at the bigger picture, like you and I know, our homeowners insurance went up this last year. And it went up because of the impact of storms. And it's the same thing that happened with the California fires, because I know my aunt she lives in Santa Rosa, and it was hard to find an insurance company after her house burnt down. And after they got rebuilt, her insurance company dropped her.
So let me segue off of that for just a second, because this is really an important point. And our 5 listeners know
there's 37 listeners on YouTube.
What? Yeah. Hey, welcome aboard, all 37 of you.
Yeah.
So it was on February. Yeah, you can pick a different chair. February 14th of 2022, when the Ponderosa went up in a burst of flames.
Right.
And we lost everything except a wooden eagle. Everything, anyway. But, so, I had 3 different insurance policies. I was covered per incident. If somebody fell and broke their nose, if they tripped on the sidewalk and busted a hip, up to $3 million per incident. And I had almost no fire insurance. And it was my fault, because every year my poor insurance man that was covering our business insurance would, okay, you need to look over your policy, and then let's get the premium paid. Yeah, sure, whatever. And I would just pay my premium on there. And so he was working with a non-compliant business owner trying to keep me covered, is what he was trying to do. And so please, whether it's you have a business, whether it's, you can get rental insurances.
Right. Rental insurance is actually really cheap.
Yes, and get a rental policy, but keep somewhere some sort of an inventory. And I did not have an updated inventory of everything in my business when I lost that whole business, underinsured, and my fault.
The building fire wasn't your fault. It was
no,
your
my
let's clarify that for people
yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
My not having proper insurance was my fault. Thank you. The building fire, I don't know what they've come up with that, but no, I think
they came up with foul play or something.
I can't. Yeah,
I remember correctly.
Yeah, but so you have to be proactive about your whether it's rental insurance, your homeowner's insurance, your business insurance,
and your vehicle insurance, because that also gets impacted.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you really, like you said, look at your policy, because even I myself, living a block away from the river, I am not in the flood zone, so I mandatorily don't have to have the flood insurance. But I have found out that I need to look at flood insurance, because water coming up through the ground into your house is not covered under your homeowner's insurance. Coming through windows or coming through your roof does.
That is because there's a difference. if because a flood insurance may not cover depending on how the water got in there.
Right. So, and I found that out when they did the street in my neighborhood, when they reactivated that creek bed. And since we now have an active creek underneath all those houses, I need to look at that. But I was talking to a couple other people about it, of numerous other things that they're doing on homeowners insurance that you have to look on. And so I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Because here, like myself, I have overinsured myself because of some of the stuff in my house.
Yeah.
Because we were stationed in Europe, I had European furniture built. I can't replace that here.
Do you have a whole inventory
Yes,
list
I
somewhere?
do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it in the house where it could burn up?
It's in a fireproof box inside of a fireproof safe that's inside of a fireproof wall.
And so you and I are both home owners.
Right.
We're not renters, but you can get similar policies as renters.
Yeah.
And my business insurance, because I was a renter, was a renter's business insurance. So, yeah.
But, you know, like my son has renter's insurance and he pays $5 a month.
Yeah.
That's really nothing.
It's nothing.
It really isn't anything. And most landlords, if you actually read your contract, actually say you require to have it. Now, when I lived in base housing, it was a requirement. And base housing, most base housing isn't a house by itself. Okay? So it's multiple houses connected together like townhomes. And there could be 8 houses connected together. And if Joe Schmo in the middle didn't, matter of fact, it happened in Alaska, didn't blow their candle out in their kitchen, and it just flickered just right, caught the curtain, and it burned down 2 units in the middle. Now, if they wouldn't have got that extinguished, that whole block could have gone. Some of the units, the Bucks are playing. Some of the units, like when we lived in Germany, they were apartment-style complex units. You know, same thing. Granted, we really don't have a lot of apartment complexes around here, but they're still within our area. The only place I didn't see a tornado at was actually in Wyoming, but you know what they had instead? Snow. They had horrible snowstorms. They actually had part of the interstate shut down. So, we go from 90-degree eastern Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, you know, and Wyoming's sitting right with that.
Gosh.
to snow.
So crazy.
That's a 60-degree difference. Because it has to be 30 degrees to snow. It's 32 degrees.
Okay, so I have to get us back on track because I pulled us down this path.
Right.
Because you were talking about tornadoes to start with.
Right. But that's where I'm going from, is like the whole weather aspect. Just within our 4 little states, in 1 week, we've got 1 state that's connected to us, not too far away. Matter of fact, Wyoming's not even 2 hours. Has snow. We've got 90 degrees, and we got tornadoes surrounding by us. So, but that also goes back to the homeowners insurance with snow, that a lot of people don't understand, that snow weight can crush your roof. And you and I know that because we lived in parts where you gotta, like, you do have to shovel your roof at some points when you get dumped on. But that's just one of those things that, you know, when you look at, I guess what made me think about it is because I was reading about how people wanted to know where the tornado sirens were at in town, which I'm going to be honest, I've never heard it here. I've never heard it. And people say you can hear it all the time. And I'm like, I must be deaf as heck.
Don't they do, like, tests?
I don't know. I always hear the doohickey from the rail yard. Their little lunch thing.
Oh,
that
yeah,
goes
yeah,
off
yeah.
at noon. But, you know, and then one of the things, somebody else asked me, well, what does it look like when a tornado is coming? And I've gone through 2 tornadoes in my life. The sky turns green, and it goes eerie still. And it's weird. It's hot as heck.
Yeah, tornadoes are, the sky is pukey, and it makes you feel pukey when you see it. It really does.
And I don't know if you saw one of those pictures I had shared of the tornado, where they always say to get into the most location that has the most hard walls, you know, no windows, you know, whatever. Get in that door frame, get in the basement, whatever. One of the houses, the tornado actually lifted the basement.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy crap. I have never in my life seen the basement lifted. And I lived in Texas. I've lived in South Carolina. I have never seen a basement lifted.
Oh, no. I lived in eastern South Dakota, and why do they hit trailer parks? What is it about a trailer park? Yeah,
hurricanes and tornadoes. They like trailer parks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting here? Living in an area that, okay, I understand that we don't see them that often. We see microbursts more. Mm-hmm. But do you know where our tornado shelter is here?
Is it in the high school? No. Okay. Her face is... She is smugly looking at me. Where is it? Where's our tornado shelter? Where? I'm embarrassed. I don't know this. Is it the hospital?
Law Enforcement Center.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the... What about, like, up at DCC? Do they have, like...
I don't know if DCC has one. I know they used to say the Epic was one. But I don't...
A tornado shelter? Epic?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have a basement.
You don't have to have a basement. You didn't listen to the first part, did you?
No.
A building with 4 concrete walls or sturdy walls within it with no windows.
Thank you. Thank you for repeating that.
So, in the Epic, there's that room in the back.
In the back, yep.
It's 4 solid concrete walls.
Huh. Okay.
So you've got Law Enforcement Center and the Epic. I know they said there's one more. I don't remember where it's at. It might be up at the college.
Yeah, because I would think the hospital would have to be one for sure.
The hospital probably is one, but I'm sure it's not as well talked about because, I mean, some of those layers in that hospital, you have to use an elevator and you can't, you know what I mean? You have to be able to walk
to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I missed the whole 4 concrete is because what I was doing is at the same time you were talking, I was going on Facebook because there was some interesting things that had popped up on there, and I was trying really quick to see if I could find them as talking points. And of course I couldn't because I also don't have my readers on. But I know one of the things that they were talking about, I heard, I don't know if it was on DASA discussion or the Glendive Tattler, because those are the ones that I basically are looking at besides the Pity Project ones. Please spay and neuter your animals. But there was somebody that had said, hey, what's happening with the Manor apartments? And so just over here on the south side, we have those Manor apartments. And I don't know, and I didn't get a chance to read all of that conversation because I think that was going on this morning. And so I wanted to do a pitch for a concept. And this is a concept that actually through Eastern Plains Economic Development that we were visiting about. And we have, we've got different like buildings and structures in town that need a lot of love. Maybe they're vacant right now, but the idea of one person trying to purchase them, or one company trying to purchase and try to renovate said properties is almost an insurmountable task. And so I'm going to do a pitch because I was going to do either through Eastern Plains Economic Development some letters to the editor, or I was going to see if maybe the Ranger Review would be willing to just post some articles about co-ops. And so cooperatives can do, we have the Montana...
Oh, it's right here.
Where is it? Okay, what's it say?
It says, so just wondering what's going on with the Manor apartment. Story behind them. Anything going to be done with them? They are such a huge eyesore.
I know, and sometimes things just, to upgrade and maintain things gets to be so challenging.
What color are the Manor apartments? I get so confused by all the apartments.
Are they green? Are those? I don't know what they are over there. They're just down. They're down the street here. They're big.
Is it the one that's like on the other side of the Zion?
Kind of down from the Zion is where in that area, yeah. But honestly, our community could do what's called an investment co-op, where you have a co-op is actually a cooperative is a business model, and you can co-op basically anything. But you can do an investment co-op and get other stakeholders who are willing to invest money. And as a co-op company, that company can help upgrade some of these vacant properties, either to use for like a revenue and income property, or to fix them up and to resell them and flip them. And so investment cooperative can do something like that if you have interested stakeholders that would be willing to do that. And so I'm going to see if the Ranger Review will let me, through Eastern Plains Economic Development, write some articles, because you can do shared co-ops on workforce. So if you've got a small business and you need help with marketing or payroll or whatever, and it's just too much of a cost for one small business, you can form a shared workforce co-op, and you can form that with all different entrepreneurs, and you guys and that co-op can share employees, allowing that employee to have a full-time job and possibly benefits, but then each individual co-op member, like small business, may only need them for a couple hours a week. And you can do things like that through a co-op.
So this is what I'm reading off that post, is that one person said that they thought they were condemned. I was told they were condemned. And the person posted that they believe the 4 outside structures are. And then somebody was saying that there's one that's full, and that's the person that keeps the safety or whatever of it. And then this Jessel Terry said the current owner is trying to either sell or get an investor to store them. We, among everyone else, got kicked out a year and a half ago. One couple is still there to have someone on site for security reasons. It's unfortunately found to take a ton of money to fix them up either way.
Investment co-op, that is where, you, as a team of people, to be able to upgrade properties, that is the way to go.
Well, this one lady goes, the same lady had made that comment because somebody was like, what about grants or something else, whatever. And the Giselle Terry said, well, the current owner is trying every avenue they can. Do you know who the current owner is?
I don't, but here is the problem. And everybody, all businesses are looking for grants. And for like small individual, or for basic companies or private businesses, there are not really a lot of grants out there. And most of the grants are your nonprofits. You can get grants through like your municipal governments or your county governments. You can get state and federal grants through there. But you have to, there's not a lot of, there's smaller grants, like Red Ants Pants has women's grants to help small business women sometimes, but there's not a lot out there. And so, so to find grants, because when when you say condemned, what does that mean? Does that just mean it needs to have mold removed and then they can remodel it? Or is the whole structure, if you sneeze, is it going to fall down? Condemned means different things.
I don't know how old those units are. I don't know. 50s, 60s maybe.
Yeah.
But, back in, 2008 when the oil boom happened? 2009? It was happening when I moved here in 2010. The greed struck this community. And you and I both know that. And I remember the Manors was one place where they hiked up that rent and booted a lot of longtime residents out to get in their quick, fast money making that they should have reinvested into their property.
Everybody does that. They do it in western Montana right now.
I know.
Regular people can't even live there anymore.
I know, and I was watching, a side note there, a thing in Great Falls, because the same thing's happening in Great Falls, that they were going through and using a bulldozer and knocking everything down in one of the areas over there that people put campers and tents up. You know, no, don't get me wrong, nobody needs to live in the slums, but what are we doing wrong in America that people are getting pushed out of where they live because of costs?
I know.
Like, why are we not enforcing the laws that we put in place for affordable housing? I mean, we've got, look at our community. Look how many vacant houses we have around here and stuff. And they're insanely, stupidly expensive for no apparent reason.
I know.
I mean, I overpaid on my house. And everybody was like, your house was $75,000. Why'd you pay $135,000? Because, you know what? I talked him down to $135,000. Was it worth $135,000? No. But you know what? I was paying $1,000 a month for rent for a one-bedroom place. That was a lot of money.
It still is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at what everybody's charging for rent. I was looking at it for a friend of mine around here, and I was like, can you afford $1,800? Because I know I couldn't afford $1,800 for rent. I mean, if I was paying $1,800 for rent, I wouldn't be owning a vehicle. You couldn't make a car payment. I mean, we live in a community, well, Montana in general, minimum wage is not that high. And a lot of people are like, well, it's because the Californians have moved in, the Washingtons have moved in, the Oregon people have moved in. Okay, we can blame that on some. Let's be real, we could, because they're selling their property from where they're coming in, smacking cash down
On stuff here.
Yeah. But let's go talk to the landlords that are like, ooh, we're going to capitalize on this and boot people out. Because the people living on the streets are the people that lived in those places all, forever and a day. I mean, what's her name lives in a trailer park in Bozeman, and her lot rent is $1,200. That's insane to me.
Jeez.
I was like, I'd be moving out of there. But that's just goes back to, this is why you need to insure your property, because where are you going to live? There's not very many places. There's a puppy on the door.
And always adopt. That's my my adopted pup. And so always make sure that you're considering adopting. Speaking of that,
spay, neuter, and get your licenses.
And J&P Pound Puppies is, they have a raffle that you can buy tickets at Tractor Supply right now for a 0-turn lawnmower.
Which my one strip of land piece of mowing I do not need for.
I don't know. I'm the same, but I want a ticket anyway. I'm feeling really confident about that 0-turn lawnmower. But yeah, you can, but yeah, so they've got a raffle going for that, and that's over at Tractor Supply. And
yeah. But anyways, stay safe. Have a happy 4th. This is Podcast on the Porch with Carrie
and Teresa.
Have a good night.
Bye.